Vicente, thank you so much for joining me today, all the way from Brazil. How are you?
I'm doing good. Really excited for my next fight, and camp is going great.
Yeah, and how is it over in Brazil at the moment? You obviously normally spend your time preparing for a fight in Florida. Why the decision not to train for this fight at Sanford MMA?
Usually, I'm always back and forth between Brazil and Florida. I actually live in Brazil and spend most of my time over here. And some fights I have my camp over there, some fights I have them over here. But I just felt like my last fight, you last year in Brazil, and I had a few months that I was in Florida, but most of it in Brazil. And this year, I felt like the same. It's just being close to my family, having this environment over here in Brazil, just gets me in the right mindset to fight. To be in the best mentality for my fight. So I just felt it was the best thing.
So you're facing former champion Tyron Woodley next. I know after your last fight, you mentioned that you would love to fight Nate Diaz. Obviously, that didn't happen. But what did you think when they put forward Tyron Woodley to you?
Yeah, I mean, a fight with Nate Diaz is something that will always be in my interest. I think he's a great fighter, and it's a style that really I enjoy a lot. I think it's similar to my style. We just go out there and try to excite the fans. But it didn't happen. Maybe one day it will. But Woodley, I think, is a perfect opponent. Former champion. He was a dominant champion. I think a win over him is gonna, you know, bring a lot of credit to my name and show what I can do in the division. So definitely, I was really happy when I got this opponent, and I'm super excited for this fight.
And you've had two very impressive stoppage finishes in your last two fights. You know that was since the Wonder Boy loss. What have you? What can you put that success down to? What changed for you?
I think the loss to Wonder Boy kind of opened my eyes a little bit in striking. Uh, I always was really confident about my striking, but kind of I was stationary, so I wasn't evolving that much. I felt like I had what I needed to have in the striking to be one of the most dominant in the division in that aspect. And once I fought Wonder Boy, he just showed me another level of striking. And that's when I realized, hey, I gotta evolve. I gotta work on some other things on my stand-up game for me to really, get to the level I wanted to be in striking. And that's what I felt I've been improving since then. That's why my two last fights I could show a little bit, more head movement, more control of the fight, pacing myself better, not just, going out there and chasing the knockout at any cost, but looking and working my way to that knockout in a more natural way.
And like you said, obviously Tyron Woodley is a former champion. Um, what do you think of him as an opponent? Obviously, what he's achieved in the sport so far, and viewing him as an opponent for you going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting the best Woodley to fight me. I think it's gonna be the Woodley that used to be the champion. A lot of people talk about, oh, he's coming off three losses and he's not in his best moment. But if I were with three losses and I was gonna fight, I was gonna make sure I was gonna be in the best shape and try to prove everybody wrong. So that's what I think he's gonna do. I believe he's gonna come and try to prove people that he's still the guy that can become a champion. So that's what I'm getting ready for the best Woodley ever. And I think that's only my uh, really work with right now because that's not underestimating him and being ready for the best version of him. And if it's not the best version, it'll be a better night for me. But I'm gonna be ready for the hardest fight possible.
Yeah, and what have you thought about his last three performances? Like you say, obviously, a lot of people think that perhaps he is, coming off the tail end of his career. What do you think about that, and what have you thought about his last three performances?
I mean, I think it's hard when you lose to the three best guys in the world. So right now they're the three first guys in the rankings, and you can't say much when about that. Losing to the three best guys in the world, that's not an end of career. Maybe you're just not as at the same rhythm you used to be. And as a champion, everybody has the eyes on you. Everybody's looking to beat you. And I think that's what happened. People found some holes on his game and capitalized on that. Kamaru, then Gilbert, then Colby. And definitely, I think that he's looking to change a little bit and come to this fight improved. So I'm going to look for those things that work for these other, but at the same time, you're ready for new things that Woodley could bring for this fight.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, new things. But are there other things that you feel that you need to be aware of? Things that may make him dangerous in this fight against you.
I think 3 rounds, that's something that he hasn't fought in a while. And when I see him fighting 5 rounds, I think he paces himself a little bit and he's not that aggressive. But fighting 3 rounds, I think that might make him a little bit more aggressive and not so worried about gassing out. So I definitely think that he's going to be more aggressive in this fight.
Yeah, and what do you think a win over someone like Tyron Woodley will do for you and your career?
I think it will set me up, to face somebody in the top 5. That's what I'm looking for. I want to get in that mix for the title eventually. So a big win, that's what I'm for, go out there and have a great performance against him. All focus on this fight right now. But after that, after I get a big win over him, I think that will set me up to be in the top 5 or face somebody in there. But I gotta first get this win.
Yeah. And what's your opinion about the landscape at the welterweight division at the moment?
I mean, I think Kamaru has been facing everybody in the top. Has been looking really good in his fights. Has been a dominant champion. I think that right now, for me, the fight that would make more sense would be to see him against Wonderboy. I think that's kind of the guy in the top 5 that he hasn't faced. But I get it that he wants to go and fight Masvidal. Their fight was kind of like in short notice. Masvidal feels like he can do better, so that's an interesting fight as well. I always enjoy watching Masvidal fight, and I don't know. I feel like I'm working my way up there, and I feel like I can face these guys and do really well against them. So I'm excited for the future.
Yeah. How do you think Jorge does against Usman the second time around with a full camp?
It's hard to say. I don't know if it's gonna change that much because Kamaru can just impose his will on the wrestling, and that's hard, and that gasses strikers, especially the arms. That power takes the power away from you. So if he can keep the fight standing and connect his shots, especially on the maybe 2 or 3 first rounds, I think he has a shot at winning that fight. But overall, I would give, Kamaru the advantage, and I choose him, to win that fight.
Yeah. And what do you think of the idea of them being tough coaches? Obviously, you've had your experience alongside Usman on tough. What do you think about that? How do you think that would be with them two as coaches?
I think it would be super interesting. I think, especially with all the kind of animosity they have with each other, they really don't like each other that much. It's going to be fun to watch. And especially, it's going to be fun to have the Ultimate Fighter back. I think it has always been a great show, and a lot of talent has come from the Ultimate Fighter. So I'm really excited to watch that.
Yeah. And, going back obviously with your relationship with Kamaru Usman, you were obviously there for UFC 258 when he defended his title against Gilbert Burns. You were in the corner for Gilbert Burns. What was that experience like, knowing the history that you have with both men and the history that they had together?
Yeah, it was definitely something different that we were used to. There was some kind of like energy besides just being, it was a title fight that was special, but knowing that we all trained together, we all were teammates, we all, enjoyed great times out of, only of training, but outside of the gym. And we always had a good relationship. It was kind of crazy to look at them two actually getting to that moment where they were going to fight. Then the fight, went down. If it ended as it ended, I think it was really emotional in a way for all of us because, no matter what we say before the fight, no matter the mentality we have, during the camp, and we want to win, but at the end of the day, we still have some kind of relationship with Kamaru, me and Gilbert, and it was a different scenario for sure. I think it was something that I don't know. It was hard. It was doable, but it wasn't like the best way. We definitely would like to fight somebody else, but it had to be Kamaru. So that's how it was.
And like you said, it was quite an emotional, I think an emotional run up as well because of the history. But then obviously after it was all said and done, there was a lot of emotion shown. And I think we saw you embrace Usman in the cage afterwards. Do you remember that moment and what was said?
Yeah, I remember that. I just let him know as I talked to him before the fight was said. Like if I let him know that I was gonna help Gilbert for this fight. I was gonna corner him for the fight, but it wouldn't change our relationship, and that's what I told him in the octagon. Like no matter what happens, this is not gonna change. Like future from now, if you need me to help you out with other fights, I will. If it's gonna be the same relationship because it's just what we do. It's our job. We got to go in there and fight, and we want to fight the best. Gilbert wants to be the champion, so that meant fighting Kamaru, and it just made sense. So I just wanted to let him know that, and we did what we had to do. Business is done. Everything gets back to normal.
Mm. What do you see being next for Gilbert Burns?
I think that he needs maybe one or two fights, and I think he gets back to that mix for the title. I really believe he has what it takes to become a champion. With this fight, he showed that for one round he was really close, and I think he kind of got overexcited. And but at the same time, that's a big lesson. He's gonna learn from that, and he's definitely not done. He's still got a lot of big fights to do, and I do believe he's gonna become the champion and maybe one or two fights if he gets. I think a great fight for him would be Colby Covington. It makes sense. He wants that fight, and I think he can definitely beat Colby. So I think beating a guy like that, maybe just that fight is enough to put him in a title talk again.
Yeah, how do you think that would go down with him and Colby?
I think it would be a great fight, especially considering that Colby has a lot of volume and Gilbert, on the other hand, has a lot of power. So that would be interesting to see. And I don't think Colby would want to grapple against Gilbert because Gilbert's grappling is another level. I don't think many people would actually try to grapple him. Only Damian Maia, I think that's the only guy that in the whole roster of 70 of 170 would actually try to grapple him. So it would be a nice stand-up battle, and I think Gilbert could get the knockout against him.
Yeah, and where does that leave you? Because obviously you're on your climb up the division, and you want to get to the top. You want to get to the title. So where does that leave you in terms of you maybe finding yourself in the position of maybe having to go against Gilbert Burns or Kamaru Usman? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's hard. Me and Kamaru, we've talked about it, and it's kind of something that since the Ultimate Fighter, we were in the Ultimate Fighter together. We knew that kind of could happen. We knew that both of us were talented. Both of us wanted to become champions. So we kind of had. We knew that it could happen. So that's already kind of clear between us. We're okay if we fight each other. That's not a big deal. At least it's not for me. I and from what he has told me, we're good. If we fight, we fight. That's how it is. Now, me and Gilbert is really different because we're more than just friends and more, more than training partners. We're like brothers. He has always been there for me. I'm always there for him. We're really like our families are super friends. I love his kids, so it's really hard. I really could. So we'll see. I think we can figure out a way for both of us to become champions and not have to face each other.
How do you think that would plan? How do you think that would work out?
I don't know. Maybe one of us would go up division or down. He used to fight 155. I don't know if he could make that weight again, or maybe move up to 185. Me or him. We'll see. But we, if the moment comes, we'll have to make a decision. But definitely we'll find a way.
Yeah. And recently I saw that you were added into the UFC game. What do you think about that? Does that excite you? Do you play?
Yeah, I do play, and it was really exciting. I've been playing already, like 3 days straight, trying to fight against different guys, and it was really cool, especially to see how they got some things of my fight style really, like, really, really similar. So that was pretty awesome. They put me with the calf kicks. That's something I like to do, and they actually put that in the game. So I thought it was really cool. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I never, as a kid, I always played video games, but I never thought I would be in a video game. So that's pretty awesome.
Nice. So when do you leave for Vegas, and who have you got in your corner for this one?
I'll be leaving in about 2 weeks, and I'll have Daniel, my coach here from Brazil, from Serrato MMA. He's always on my corners. Gilbert Burns will be there, and Henry Hooft. So that's basically every single fight. That's my corner. Those are the three guys that I really have a lot of trust. They already know my game. They know what they need to say, kind of to get in my mind and let me know what I should be doing better or not during the fight. And I listen to them really well. So that's kind of my team that I always go to.
Yeah, and of course Gilbert has been in there with Tyron Woodley as well. Has he given you any key advice going into this one?
Yeah, he kind of gave me a little bit of the view he had when he fought him, and also I helped him a lot for that fight. I was there cornering him, so I already had watched a lot of video on Woodley, a lot of tape on Woodley. I'm watching again, so it's kind of like, in a way, it's a familiar fight. Kind of, I was there. I watched his game. I kind of looked at what he did better, some things that he did mistakes where I could capitalize. So definitely having Gilbert, the fact that Gilbert already fought him definitely helps.
So March 27th, how do you see it going down in your head against Tyron Woodley?
Yeah, so I definitely see an action-packed fight. I'm not the kind of guy to go out there and have a boring fight. I'm always active. I'm always looking for the finish, and that's what I'm going to do against Woodley. I do believe I can finish him. Not many guys have finished him in the UFC, so I'm looking to be one of the guys that gets in there and finishes Woodley for sure.
Okay, we look forward to seeing it. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.